convene the Senatorial Vote Committee, which was established by the Maine State Senate. My name is Roger Case, and I represent Augusta, China, Oakland, Sydney, and Jasper in the State Senate. I'd like to now ask our other committee members to introduce themselves, starting with Senator Gerzofsky.
Good morning, I'm Senator Gerzofsky. I represent District 24, which all people in the right mind know that is beautiful downtown the city of Brunswick, the rolling hills, the waterfront community park, the shopping and natural resource mecca of Freeport, and the beginning of all my communities, North Yarmouth.
Good, how are you?
Thank you, Senator.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming today. My name is Garrett Mason. I represent Senate District 22, which covers parts of Androscoggin and Kennebec counties.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Bill Diamond. I represent Senate District 26. My district starts in Wyndham and goes around Saviello Lake.
Good morning. My name is Dawn Hill, and I proudly represent Senate District 35, which is Algonquin, York, Erie, Elliott, South Pelosi, and a little part of the road.
Good morning, I'm Andre Cushing. I represent Senate District 10, which is comprised of 15 communities in southern Penobscot County.
And I'm Senator Saviello, represent District 17, which is all Franklin County, Ward County, and Kennebec County.
Thank you, Senator. If there are any people here who will participate in the election day on Long Island, we're asking you to, at this point, to be down in the appropriations room. I think we pretty much steered everybody here. I don't know if anybody is here, but if you are, could you please see one of our folks outside? I'll direct you down there. And also, if you're one of the folks who participate in the recount and want to leave for a little while, because we're not going to get you for probably a while, if you'd like to let our wonderful clerk know, Beth Walker, how we can get a hold of you somewhere else in the building, that would be great as well. Thank you. So why are we here? So election day in District 25 in the State Senate, Catherine Breen was the apparent winner. And as is her right, Kathleen Manchester, the Republican candidate, requested a recount. And as a result of the recount of the Secretary of State's office, it was determined that Ms. Manchester was the winner. And as is her right, Ms. Breen appealed that. And by the way, both Ms. Manchester, Senator Manchester and Ms. Breen are here today. Because of those results, Kathleen Manchester was sworn in last Wednesday as the provisional winner of the District 25 State Senate seat. Also on November 4th, by unanimous vote of the State Senate, we passed an order, and I'd like to read the order to you because it explains why we're here. Ordered that the Standing Committee on the Senatorial Vote, that's all of us, shall convene in an expeditious manner at the call of the chair to examine thoroughly issues relevant to the election in Senate District 25, to propose resolution of such issues, and to determine the properly elected candidate, and that the committee by December 19, 2014 shall make such recommendations to the full Senate as it deems appropriate. So why are we handling it the way we are today? And the answer to that is tradition and precedent. Title 121A of our statutes leaves decisions about who is to be ultimately seated in any district to the full state Senate. Just as the statute does in the House, by the way, if there are issues there. So in past cases, where one party candidate does not believe that a recount has adequately resolved the matter, and they're not willing to sign off on the recount result, the Senate in the past has done just what this Senate has done, to appoint members to a senatorial vote committee to consider the matter. So our job here today is to learn as much as we can and then make a recommendation. It is a recommendation to the full Senate. But the ultimate decision about who is to be seated lies with the full 35-member state Senate. In preparing for today, I've worked closely with my friend Senator Hill, who is the Democratic Lead-In Committee, and we had one organizational meeting. And by the way, we are very lucky to have assigned to us as our analyst, Daniel Fox, who's tremendous in getting all this set up and handling all the logistics. We also will have our clerk, Beth Walker. We're very glad to have Beth. And we also do have legal counsel at our request, who is Phyllis Gardner from the Attorney General's office. So collectively, between Senator Hill and myself, and then in an organizational meeting that this committee had last week, we decided on the agenda, if you will, for today. I'd like to just briefly describe that to everyone, what we're going to do today. First of all, we're going to hear from each of the candidates or their representatives. Next, we're going to ask Julie Flynn to be the first witness, and all witnesses will be under oath. Julie Flynn is the Deputy Secretary of State, who can help educate us on the law and rules with respect to conducting elections and recounts, and also any specific knowledge she may have about what happened in Long Island. We will then have 3 other categories of witnesses today. First are those on Long Island who are election officials at the polls on November 4th, of the town clerk and others, in an effort to try to sort out what happened there. Second, there may be a witness or two to establish a chain of custody of the ballots between the town and the Secretary of State's office, and then people who actually participated in the recount. We'll be considering a number of exhibits which have been brought here today. Those will include the ballots, and include the boxes that they were placed in, and include some of the tally sheets, and may also include some other items not directly related to Long Island, such as the 9 disputed ballots from other towns. And by the way, with respect to the ballots themselves, no members of the committee will be handling those ballots at the request of the state police, but we'll have an opportunity to review them. At the end of, hopefully, the end of today, and it is our goal to finish today if we could, at the end of the day, we'll ask for closing statements again from the representatives of each of the candidates. I expect we'll probably take a short mid-morning break, a lunch break, but we do want to stay on track. And so when we say we're going to break for 5 minutes, it will be 5 minutes. Again, we all want to understand what happened to make sure that that the will of the people of District 25 is honored. Every vote has to count. And I know all 7 of us take this responsibility extremely seriously. Let me state the obvious, this takes place in a very political environment. This is just weeks after a very contentious election cycle. But I know that I speak for each and every one of my colleagues on this committee that we want to get it right. And our goal is to have a unanimous report. It's important for the voters in District 25. It's obviously important to the 2 women who put their lives on hold to seek out this office. And most importantly, perhaps, it's important to the integrity of the institution in the main Senate. And from my perspective, we couldn't have a better group of senators to take on this task. So with that, we'll begin by asking a representative of each of the candidates to make brief openings if they would choose to do so. And first, we'd ask Ms. Breen or her representative. I see Attorney Mahoney is with us. Good morning. Before we start, please have Senator Hill.
Thank you, Senator Cate. Just a couple of quick housekeeping matters, which I'm well trained in being on appropriations. So all of those who have phones and any kind of electronic devices, please turn them off. And the other thing is, I want everyone to know there is an overflow room. It's the Welcome Center, and you'll be able to have an audio of what is taking place up here. If you need to take a break, don't hesitate to go down there. If you have other people coming, that will be a comfortable place for them to be as well. And then, Senator Cate, just before we get going, I know I'm sitting here looking at these boxes. Perhaps it could just be described as a box here, a box there, a box there, and I don't want people to think that we don't know what these are and how they're being watched, because clearly this is a big part of possibly the issue.
Thank you, Senator. The boxes which are here in front of us and the portion over on the table to our left, which are being watched very carefully by men in uniform, are basically, as I understand it, all the documents which bear on this issue is to include all of the ballots, particularly from Long Island, the tally sheets, the recount boxes, and all of the papers from the recount. I'm sure we'll have those discussions before. But basically, we've asked that all of the relevant documents be produced here today, and we have them. Thank you, Senator. Counsel, you identify yourself? Good morning.
Good morning, Senator Katz, Senator Hill, members of the committee. My name is Mike Mahoney. I'm an attorney based here in Augusta, and I'm pleased to appear before you today on behalf of the Democratic candidate in Senate District 25, Kathy Breen. I'd like to reintroduce Kathy to you now, along with her husband, Jay Young. On Kathy's behalf, I want to open by thanking you for the thoughtful, serious approach that you and the entire state Senate has taken in this matter. As you know better than most, the issue of honoring the voters' will is not a Republican issue, it's not a Democratic issue, it's an issue that all of us as citizens of Maine have an equal stake in upholding. This has been a long, topsy-turvy road for both candidates, and I know that Kathy Breen looks very forward to getting answers to some of the questions that have been raised between Election Day and today. I'm actually gratified to see all the attention that this matter is getting today, because I think it reflects the importance of the issues that we're examining and what's really at stake. Clearly, there's more at stake than the fledgling political careers of two Senate candidates. Both of these candidates should be commended for their willingness to run and to serve, and for their commitment to see this process through both before and after November 4th. For the voters of Senate District 25, their stake is pretty simple, but it's an important one, and that is ensuring that the candidate that received the greatest number of votes in this election is seated and represents them in the Maine State Senate. For the rest of us, there is a more fundamental principle at stake here, and the stakes are very high, and that is ensuring that we continue to have the faith and confidence in Maine's electoral system that we have long held. When each of us votes on Election Day, we go in assuming that our vote, along with every other properly cast vote, will be counted correctly, and that the candidate with the greatest number of votes will prevail and be announced the winner. And thanks to the talent and the dedication of state and local election officials all around Maine, we've come to see that as the expectation, and we're lucky to have those folks. It's only in the very rare instance, like the one here in Senate District 25, that our confidence can become shaken. And hence the importance of all of us getting here today, and for the committee and the Senate to get this election result right. Here's what we know today. Late on November 4th, after all towns had reported in Senate District 25, Kathy Breen had a 7-vote lead over her opponent, Kathy Manchester. Included in those results were those from the town of Long Island, which reported 95 votes for Breen, 65 votes for Manchester, with 11 blanks, for a total of 171 votes cast. Breen's lead grew to 32 votes the next day after ballots from overseas were included in the mix. She was then declared the apparent winner, as Senator Katz previously mentioned. Let's fast forward 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, at the November 18th recount, two seemingly inconsistent, arguably irreconcilable facts came to light. First, when the ballots were reopened for the first time since election night, there weren't 171 there. There were now 192. Along with the 171 that were counted and reported on election night, there were also 21 additional ballots, all of which were cast for Senator Manchester. Second, a key document from Long Island town officials, known as the incoming voter list, confirmed that 171 voters, walk-ins, absentees, and same-day registrations cast votes on the island that day. You'll have a chance to review that document today and ask questions of the Long Island town officials who created it. So how do we account for that disparity between election night and the recount? And how do we account for the disparity between the incoming voter list and the number of ballots that were at the recount? Those are just a couple of very difficult questions that you'll be wrestling with in this proceeding, and I don't envy you. Here's the good news. Maine is a small state, as you all know, and Long Island is a small community in a small state. There is a very finite, manageable number of ballots and documents. You see them here, that you will have more than ample opportunity to review and exercise your judgment on. Just as important, you have all the right people in the room. You have state officials, you have local officials, you have all the folks who are involved in the recount, all of whom have a perspective on this and can help lead you to the answers to the questions that are being asked. I'd be remiss if I didn't add to my comments before wrapping up that in addition to the Long Island issue, there are questions about other ballots from Westbrook, Gray, and Cumberland that you're aware of, and we hope that the committee will examine those issues just as carefully. All told, there are almost twice as many ballots in play today as the margin of victory was in this race. All the more important for the committee to look at every single issue, and we appreciate your service. Make no mistake, what happened in Senate District 25 is a test for Maine's electoral system, and this committee's work will help determine whether we pass or we fail. And Team Breen has the utmost confidence in all 7 members of this committee. We thank you for your service and for your willingness to take on these issues, and we look forward to a good discussion today.
Thank you very much, Counselor. Thank you, sir. And now we will hear from Senator Manchester, or her representative. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Senator Case, distinguished committee members, I'm Josh Hardy. I represent Senator Manchester, who is here. Would like to say, as a trial attorney, and somebody who's usually in the trenches in battle, it's usually a counter argument, but frankly, I appreciate Mr. Mahoney's comments and agree with the points he made. And on behalf of Senator Manchester, I would also like to join in thanking you for serving on this important committee, and would like to reaffirm Senator Manchester's request that this committee do your due diligence and thoughtful process and bring closure and clarity, not just for the candidates who work so hard in a Senate race, but for the citizens of District 25 and for the entire state of Maine. I've had the experience in my past legislative life of sitting on a similar committee, on the House Elections Committee, with my good friend Senator Gerzofsky. Actually, on that committee at the time was the Secretary of State, then Representative Dunlap, and the Attorney General, Janet Mills. And through that process and through those experiences, we know that close elections that create the need for an elections committee require you to put on a microscopic lens as you view differences from election night results and recount results. And when we look at elections, we know from experience that human variables, machine variables, each contribute to a less than perfect process. And so when an election is close, it's the recount process that is implemented as a safeguard. And Senator Manchester is candidly relieved that the recount process is here in place in this state, and we hope that it was lawful, and it's certainly something that this committee is going to have to look at. So I would certainly urge the committee to be thorough and diligent. I'm certainly prepared to talk about each and every ward, each and every disputed ballot, and certainly the the Long Island issues. I think we all know what counts were on election day. We know that the recount process was implemented. I would urge the committee to recognize that it may be a situation where you're not able to know for sure what caused a certain result. I think a document that will at some point be part of the record sets out the appropriate context. It's an email communication from Julie Flynn to candidate Breen, in which she's trying to explain how can an election night result change from a recount day result. And she states, with regards to differences from the election night count, there is no way to know for sure the cause of those differences. There are many human variables that come into play, even for towns that use a tabulator. And she lists examples of how an election night result can change from a recount result. And then ends after those examples by saying, these are just some of the possible factors that might have come into play. And it is not possible to determine with certainty the cause, quote, cause of any of these changes. But you can certainly shed clarity through this committee's work and through diligence. Wish you nothing but the best. We stand on behalf of Team Manchester, ready to be a resource, and it's always good to work with my colleague Mike Holman. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Thank you very much.